Hey everybody, this is Josh with Late Start Piano. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of working on songs that you already know and even going back to old drills or old songs that you used to play, but now you're working on something else. Why you should do that, why is that beneficial? First of all, you don't want to be constantly learning new things every time you sit down at the piano. So you don't want to be going over some new exercise, some new song. The only exception would be sight reading. If you're working on sight reading, which is literally just sight reading a brand new piece of music every time to improve your ability to read music and play on the spot. If you're working on that, then okay, you can read new sheet music every single day. That's not a problem. Everything besides that, if you're not sight reading, you don't have to be learning a brand new arpeggio exercise. You don't have to be learning a brand new song. You don't have to be doing some crazy harmony exercise or something like that. You can and you should actually go back to old songs that you already know that you haven't touched in a while and work on refining the little things. So, what do I mean by little things? Things like articulation, things like dynamics, and your overall feel of the music itself. Okay. So, there's a big difference between just telling the story. If we think about how when we play sheet music, we're just reading the ink, right? So that's one way to play it, is you just read the ink. Yes, you're hitting the right notes at the right time on beat. Okay, that's good. But there's a whole nother level of that musicality. Things like the articulation and really specifically the dynamics, the changes in volume, the changes in tempos, the slurs, the ties, things like that, accents. Okay, you want to be able to have those drilled down on the old songs as well because you want to work on those things. And it's easy to, once you get at a certain level of a piece, let's say you can sit down and you can play the notes perfectly and it sounds good, people recognize the song that you're playing. It's easy to kind of move on to the next thing without really focusing on those small pieces to elevate your playing. And so, back to my storytelling analogy, there's a difference between just telling the story as in you're just reading the sheet music versus how you're telling the story. So telling the story is one thing, the how you tell it, that's the dynamics. That's the volume that you play at. Again, the slurs, the articulation, the overall feel. If it says, uh, ritardando and you have to slow down, do you actually slow down? The crescendos, do you gradually build up? And do you gradually get lower if that's what it calls for? And of course, the dynamic signs, piano, mezzo, forte, forte, pianissimo, things like that. Do you have those small things? That's the how. That's the how you're telling the piece that you're playing. That's the how that you're telling the story. So you can tell the story by just reading it and you can ignore all those things and you play the right notes at the right time. That's great. That's you telling the story. It's a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother level of playing when you go into how you're telling that. And just another analogy too, if you can think of like a teacher in school that you had, let's say for example, you had a teacher in school and they had that monotone kind of voice, okay? Even if you really enjoyed the subject, say he was a math teacher and you're some kind of math geek, okay, and you love numbers and you love doing all that stuff. If the teacher was terrible and they were telling you the story about math, but weren't really telling you it with any kind of emotion, it's going to get boring. Especially I had a college professor who had the most monotone voice I think I've ever heard in my life. It was a 2 hour long lecture. It was like once or twice a week, so the classes were longer. Um, but I hated that lecture because it was so damn boring. I could never follow along. And then to contrast that, you had other teachers where maybe I did not like the subject, like say biology. I wasn't really good in the sciences. So I had a biology teacher, but they came in super energetic. They always had a smile on their face. They told stories with what they were teaching. All those things helped me in the class better and they held my attention more. Because really, when you think about it, when you play the piano, you're telling some kind of story every single time. And you want to make sure that you're a good storyteller. And how do you do that? You work on your dynamics, the articulations. You get to become a good storyteller and you will become a better piano player in the progress. So that's the importance of going back to old pieces is you want to really refine those things that can always be improved. So don't think like, okay, I know this song, I don't have to ever touch it again. You can go back. It's not a waste of time to go back or if you're in some kind of method book and you're on page 50, it's not a wasted time to go back to page 30, play an old song that you know, and just really work on those dynamics, work on those small things. I promise that's going to help you become a better piano player. Hope that helps. My name is Josh with Late Start Piano.